Hello friends, welcome back to Case Studies with the BizDoc. This week I take yet another suggestion, and it was Google. But I started looking into Google and say, well, where do I go? There's AdWords, there's Android, there's Maps, there's servers now and hosting. But I settled on AdWords because it's something I know something about, and I figured I could take you on a little tour of that and also give you a couple lessons on two things. The first lesson is technology will keep evolving. Adaptation is a skill. Now, I'm not talking about reaction, I'm talking about adapting. Adapting is a skill that you can use in your business as you lead your team. The second point is a game-changing innovation might be right under your nose. One of the things I like to do is about once a month is just answer a simple question. What if I'm a railroad today and tomorrow morning someone walked in and there were cars and there were trucks just one day later? It's happened in business from time to time, so always take a look. Is there an innovation that's right under my nose that could take my product to the next level? And we're going to find out that in the middle of just building searches in the early internet for you and me so we could find things, suddenly, right under Google's nose, there was an amazing story that would become an incredible product that would drive billions and billions and billions of dollars in revenue and market cap. So let's go. First of all, happy birthday to AdWords. AdWords is, 15, 16 years old now, and it's over almost $70 billion business, heading to the moon. And what is AdWords? Well, for those of you who use Google all the time, you see it, but you may not know it. AdWords is the system that's in the back that a business like you and me could use to bid on certain words, so when people search, our ads appear at the top. It's not just buying an ad happenstance. You actually go in and you select the words that are relevant to your business or your product or your industry, and you bid on those words. And they'll tell you what everybody else is bidding. It's not like everybody pays the same price to put a classified ad in the back of the newspaper. Remember those days when there was actually ads in the back of the newspaper? I do. That's how I bought one of my first cars, a Volkswagen Rabbit, way back in the day. So I went to the newspaper. Everybody paid equally. But what if people were bidding against each other and said, I'm willing to pay a little bit more to put my ad closer to the top and maybe put it in bold so Tom will notice it? Well, back in the day, newspapers allowed you to do a little bit of that, but Google AdWords builds a dynamic bidding engine where in real time you can bid against people, and you can even determine that you only want it in certain territories, or better yet, that you only want it at certain times of day. So AdWords is very, very, very powerful. And it's based on a thing called pay-per-click.
Tom's word of the day.
PPC. And I don't mean to be too rudimentary, but pay-per-click is what you agree that you're going to pay in that auction. So you say, okay, I'll pay, this many dollars for the word Hawaii. And by the way, in life insurance and in travel, those are some of the most expensive pay-per-click words. Why? Because life insurance people are selling a multi-$1,000 life insurance policy. And someone searching for Hawaii travel, they're going to sell you plane tickets, a hotel, a rental car when you get there. They've got a lot of money there on a deal for you on travel, so they might be willing to pay $20 per click for Hawaii travel. Now, once you click that, and they've paid the $20 to Google, they better be sure that they sell you and me the best Hawaii package, otherwise, poof, it goes away. And they spent money on that click for nothing. But that's the way it works. And if along tomorrow came another travel service who felt that they could do it even better and they offered $22 for that click, boom, they would go to the top. That's the dynamic auction, and that's AdWords. So let's go take a look at how all of this came to be, because right there is a little primer on what it is. Well, in the beginning, like 1998, the internet was still fairly young by today's standards, and there were many people thinking about what is the killer app on the internet. And there were, believe it or not, two forces trying to develop that killer app. The first was Overture. Now, Overture came out of an incubator or an accelerator that was in Pasadena, California. Now, Silicon Valley likes to be known as the place that invented everything, and I'm sure the descendants of Thomas Edison would argue with that back in New York, looking at all the credit they get, considering what happened with Edison and all. But nonetheless, Silicon Valley likes to be, oh, we invented everything, it's all happening here. Well, guess what? Overture came out of organization called Idea Lab that was in Pasadena, California, run by a guy named Bill Gross. Pasadena, home of the Rose Bowl, the Rose Parade, you know, and some really kitschy kind of fun architecture from, has Spanish influence in it all through Pasadena, really, really fun city, but not known as a tech hub. Nonetheless, Idea Lab cranks out a company called Go2. Go2 was putting ads next to search and was working in the early headwaters long before Google was Lord God King of search, and they decided to drive a little company called Go2. They later renamed it to Overture Services, and after launching in '98, they went public in '99, had an IPO, and then a few years later, they would be bought by Yahoo. And everything that gets bought by Yahoo, we bury it at some point in time, so which is kind of what happened, as I'll explain. But you have the growth of search coming, and back then, you know, in year 2000, Google was only doing 20 million searches a day, and today there's, what, 3 billion searches a day? So this was still early time. Nonetheless, Bill Gross built Overture in this bidding, and it was really working. And he actually went at a TED conference and sat down with Larry and Sergey over at Google and said, hey, why don't we merge? Look at what I built, look at this technology we built. And they said, no way. No way will we take organic search, in other words, we finding all the sources and running spiders at night to find that, and giving you just, you know, anonymized, fair results of what is the most compelling search. We wouldn't put ads with that. So we're not interested in acquiring you. We're not interested in that at all. And so Overture set off, and Overture scored people like MSN, AOL, Yahoo, and so Overture was powering search with ads on those portals. So doing pretty well. Google, turns out, rolled out their own. They had an executive that was there that said, we could do this far better, and we've got some better ideas. So they go and they roll it out. And they ended up doing it better. Now I'm going to give you a true story because I know something about this, what happened here, and I'm going to give you a story that is absolutely from the annals of history that involved Jamdat. Jamdat was a wireless games company, and that was a company that I had a privilege to be a part of. I wasn't one of the founders. I came on after it was founded, but I had a really great time and a really great chapter in my career working with Jamdat, which was the top wireless games company in the world. So here we are in 2000, 2001. They've already been founded. And I'm going to tell you how we took advantage of search advertising. First of all, the Jamdat sales and business development team, these guys were the best in the business. And I don't care what anybody says, and you can set your pride aside. You can go look at it. Go look at the number of wireless carriers that they scored around the world to get Jamdat games on your phone so you could see them and then you could go buy them. Well, that's like getting Coke on the shelf of a supermarket. These sales and business development teams, they crushed the competition, and they had our games on all kinds of shelves. But marketing was needed to drive awareness of this new thing called wireless games or mobile phone games. And that's where I stepped in. I ran marketing and corporate development. So now it's like, well, we need some marketing. And we looked around and said, well, where do people go to look when they're trying to look around for something new? Google. And back in the day, Googling was already a term people were using. So we started looking at search, and we launched something that I called Operation Chameleon. You know, a chameleon, like a little lizard that goes up in the tree and his body color changes so he's disguised. I said, we're going to go use what we're learning about with Overture and Google AdWords, which was this brand new product, and we're going to put it together. And here's what we did. We didn't just put in search terms for wireless games or mobile games. We put in the names of our competitors. So if you happen to hear of some other competitor that had a wireless game and you put their name in, boom, Jamdat would come back offering its wireless games. We also built, now you would call it a microsite, we built pages that look just like Verizon Wireless, T-Mobile, Singular, AT&T, Sprint, Nextel, that look just like their product pages. We mimicked them. That's the chameleon part. And we put the phones up that they were selling at that time and links that would take you to their website. But you know what we did? On the screen of all those phones was Jamdat Games. So if you search for T-Mobile Games, it would return a link, T-Mobile Games by Jamdat. And when you clicked on it, you got what looked like the T-Mobile site, but it was a bunch of phones that had Jamdat's images on them. When you clicked on one of those, it took you to the real T-Mobile site where you could go look in and to buy a phone. Because the wireless carriers, they weren't interested really marketing wireless games. They were interested in selling you and me, remember this, free phone, 2-year contract, $50 a month. So they were worried about phones, contract, and $50 a month, $60 a month, $40 a month, trying to get you and I to go with them. But we knew that we needed to raise the awareness. So we used Operation Chameleon that was fed by Google AdWords and Overture. And we also had, so if you happen to be searching for a competitor, you would find us. And we used to hear stories about a competitor that went to raise money from a VC, and so the VC would Google their name, and up would pop Wireless Games by Jamdat. Hey, I'm Googling your name, and I'm getting Jamdat as a result. Well, these are the things we did back then. So we chose category words, we chose competitor words. We also used Alexa, which hadn't been bought by Amazon, who currently owns 92% of everything on Earth. And Alexa was telling us our relative ranking and popularity. And we use that kind of as a measure of brand awareness. So we followed our Alexa ranking each week, and we also adjusted our spending on AdWords and Overture. Guess what? Our Alexa ranking went up. We knew exactly how we were spending, so guess what? We had an online advertising budget and spend that was based on quantitative results. And there's a lesson for you. Even today, whatever you do way over here in 2017 and beyond, it's a quantitative method that you're going to be after, not an emotional method. And it's going to be more around categories and products that lead to your company, not necessarily your company name itself, not on day one. But we put all of that together, and it was phenomenal. Operation Chameleon, taking competitors' words and actually bidding on their brands and their names. Well, as they say in college, everything was going well till the cops showed up and asked the girls for their IDs. And that's kind of what happened here. Google, I was having to respond to complaints from Jamdat competitors. They're like, hey, they shouldn't be able to search on my name. And believe it or not, Google contacted us and said, stop. You can't use competitor brand names or company names to search and return on you. You can only use category names. And we even had to kind of, really do some convincing to get to keep, searching for Verizon wireless games, Sprint games, T-Mobile games, Singular games. We did some convincing. We were able to keep those. Nonetheless, I suppose you're doing well in life when the rules of the game are being made and based on what you did. And so I'm just saying that shortly after all these rules are created, man, AdWords really took off. So I'm not saying, I'm just saying. So, make your own conclusion. I wish Sergey and Larry would call and just say thank you for some of that market cap. Gosh, doing our part to help. So anyhow, the prediction tool was also huge because Google was constantly innovating, constantly progressing. Overture seemed kind of stayed and kind of stuck. And as a matter of fact, after Yahoo bought them, what was on there became markedly different from AdWords. AdWords was doing things like I just mentioned, the keyword search tool. I could run a bunch of combination on keywords and I could get predictions on what they would return in terms of number of searches and where it would be and what I would have to bid. So suddenly we were running combinations as fast as we could, and it told us what our estimated budget needed to be. So once they figured out that selling search against ads, man, they put the big power of the pack of Google brains to work, and they kept iterating, innovating, and adding to it, not adjusting it, adding groundbreaking new features. Meanwhile, we kind of wanted both of them to be healthy because we thought that would control the price and that would lead to a lot of good features. But shortly after Overture was bought by Yahoo, we really noticed a drop-off, and suddenly 90% of our spend was over here with mighty Google. So I think what's interesting about all this, when you look at it, and you look at where Google is today, is, man, they were on search and they were an algorithm. They were looking to make the perfect algorithm for search and own search on the internet. And then along come AdWords, which put an economy on top of that, and they went from 70 million to 400 million to 3 billion. Look at that growth, right? Look how short this is. And 2 years later, it's 10, 2 years, 21, 28, 43, and now it's off going to the moon. And in terms of search advertising, Google's got 64% of desktop, that is a really bad drawing of a desktop, and 90% market share of mobile. 90% of mobile and almost 2/3 of desktop. There's only one word for that: damn! You know, you better be careful. Federal Trade Commission going to knock on your door one day. You know, as they say, is how do you know you're successful? When the Federal Trade Commission shows up and tells you to stop. Until that happens, keep pushing. So you've got Google with this dominant position and a little bit of understanding here, and a great example of, I think, what Jamdat did to put it all together for an online marketing effort that was quantitative, based on results, and more importantly, completely justifiable, because we also used Alexis to manage our understandings about our brand awareness and where our site was stacking up. So it all comes together. Those same principles here you can do today. If you're trying to jump into insurance or travel, you better have a pocket full of money. But if you've built something new, or you just want to limit the geography to what you're doing in Baltimore, Maryland, or Sydney, Australia, or Hanover, Germany, you can do it, and you can effectively use AdWords to be part of it. It all comes together. So technology will keep evolving, and adaptation is a skill you can learn. You can learn to adapt. You can learn to challenge yourself. You can learn to get your team together once a month and put your mind in a place to say, what if it all changed tomorrow? What would we do? Or what could we add to this that we're not thinking about? One of my favorite sayings is, only the bravest mouse would hide in a cat's ear, but only the smartest cat would know to look there. So you think about the things that may be in front of you and may be completely obvious, because a game-changing innovation might be under your nose, like it was at Google, while they were trying to perfect the search engine and spiders that gathered information at night. Along came the opportunity in AdWords, and it took off and built a double-digit, soon-to-be triple-digit billion-dollar company. That's where we are this week. So I need my pillow. Where's my pillow? I need to Google pillow. And at the top of the search, Valuetainment, the best channel on the internet for entrepreneurial videos from the BizDoc, Patrick Bet-David, and others. Until next time, I'm Tom Ellsworth, and I hope I left you better than I found you.